most likely to do in your adult life? What scares people the most? Public speaking. Yeah. So I know when we recruit you for graduate school, we never tell you that it takes bravery. Entering a master's or PhD carries a certain amount of bravery in and of itself, and then we add teaching. And so if you're scared, that's okay. And I'm actually going to say if you're scared, that's a good thing. Okay. One of the reasons that Bill and Spencer and I teach is that it's exciting. And you just heard him say that I just stepped into an administrative job, which when it was advertised had no teaching in it. And in the spring, I'm teaching in Overlook. Because it would feel, I was trying to come up with a good metaphor, but it was kind of like going to the circus and missing the center ring, or something like that, that this is what, a big part of what we do, and I would feel out of the flow. It also keeps me cool. I have a teenage daughter, and my students teach me things before she knows them, so I can say, well, this is what they're learning this year. So spend some time over the weekend thinking about how you feel about power, and getting comfortable with it. Because you're going to carry it whether you like it or not, and what you're going to do with it. And also think about who you are in front of the classroom. Now, don't try to manufacture a brand new persona, because you've got to carry it for the rest of the semester, right? So this is not like a one-date relationship. And so think about who you are and who you want to be and how you want to carry it. But also remember that you get to have fun too. You do. You're supposed to enjoy this. I mean, those days, I mean, some of them in your department certainly, I'm sure, still expect you to suffer. There's still a few of those where they expect you to suffer. But in your classroom, if you're enjoying it, guess what? They're going to enjoy it too.
What you have to remember is your professional career, whether it's in academia, industry, nonprofit, depends upon your ability to communicate. It doesn't matter what you know. It's how well you can tell people and explain to people what you know. And being a TA is the perfect way to perfect those skills. And when you do that, I think students tell us there are 4 things that they really respond to. And the first of those would be enthusiasm. If you're not excited about what you're doing, if you're not excited about what you're teaching, if you're not interested by it, they will not respond. Can you imagine, let's say we're on a soccer team together, right? We get the team together before the match, and we're all in the huddle, and everybody's pumped up, right? The captain goes, well, these guys are going to kill us, but let's get it, right? I mean, how would we, let's get it over with, whatever, right? So if you go in and, oh my gosh, I've got classes of my own and I really don't want to be here, and how fast can I get out of here? It's over already. But the first thing is that you have to be enthusiastic, it has to be fun, right? And it is. I mean, we wouldn't be here that long if it weren't a blast. The second thing is that teaching is a conversation. We talk with our students, not at them, and it's 2 ways. My last evaluation, somebody I see, this is what come here, let's all get together. My last evaluation, the assistant professor who was on the review team came out and says, that class was a total circus. It was completely out of control. I said, yeah, that was probably the best lecture of the semester, right? Because everybody's yelling and screaming questions and arguing with each other and whatever. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. The other thing about a conversation is that you tell a story. If I were to ask you to tell me about something, you would tell me a story. Well, why is it that we go to teach and give a lecture? Sometimes we make this list of facts that we want to present, and then we just go through that list. Forget the facts. Tell me the story. So if you're teaching Shakespeare, the structure of Shakespeare's sonnets, or you're teaching protein synthesis, or whatever the heck you're teaching, right? There's a story. Build the story, the details will hang in the framework, and your students will remember it. Wherever you go, you make notes about what that person did that made that presentation, made that class effective and good. And you steal every one of those ideas. And then you go, and oh my God, that was like brutal, right? Why? What made it brutal? What did they do or should they have done, right? And you notice that. And if you make those notes, if you think about it and structure your presentations, right, about that, then you'll be a much, much better teacher.
I want to know how you get over the reserve. I tend to come into a classroom, I taught at a previous university at my master's, and I tend to come in and just sort of freeze up. I lose all the acting skill, I lose everything, and I just kind of freeze and start lecturing. How do you get past that?
I have 5 sons. Yeah, I'm writing a book called Testosterone Makes You Stupid, based on
He said that.
our lives, not yours. I give every lecture out loud 3 times. I have the first 45 seconds rehearsed so that it's on automatic pilot because I know I'm going to freeze.
Similar, I don't rehearse mine verbatim, but I always rehearse the first part for reasons. And I know, even if I don't end up following it, because I enjoy the tap dance, but I always have a full period planned out in my head.
Too, if when you're lecturing and your students started having small talks and you're not sure whether they're talking about things that you talk about in lecture or something else.
And something that you will learn is that if the class likes you, they'll start self-policing. The other students will shush them or say, I'm trying to hear. And they're much more afraid of each other, that new person across the room, than they are of us.
I have one question for my colleagues, and one that doesn't really apply to the 3 of us anymore, and that is because when we walk into our classrooms, it's obvious that we are old and different. But how do you deal with the fact, or what would be your advice to our new TAs when they walk into the classroom and you are the only person that is looking different, or you look like everybody else, just 6 months older?
When you go to a lecture or a seminar and you sit there, you know with some degree of certainty how well that presentation is going to go just by watching that person before they speak the first word. Watch them. The smile, communication with the audience before it starts in the classroom. They're set up, they're ready to go, they're early and anxious and excited about what they're doing. Don't worry about it. That level of authority that Dr. Parks talked about will be obvious just from your preparation. So when we talked about rehearsing, go to the room you're going to use, set yourself up and pretend, just like everybody's there. And just by your body language, your facial expression, it's very disconcerting to students because before class I walk around and introduce myself and have them tell me where they're from and everything else. It scares the hell out of them. But I don't care if you're my age, 65, or you were, 25 or 24, just the way you handle that will establish that. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.